It's time for Recipe of the Day. What is Osso Buco? It is a classic Italian dish, and the name literally means bone with a hole, referring to the marrow hole in the cross-cut piece of meat. This is typically made with veal shanks, but you can use beef shanks. I'm going to do a recipe for this for you soon because I do have one. I just do that a little bit differently because the beef shanks have a more robust flavor than the veal shanks, so I tweak the ingredients a little bit to match that. But you could use either one. The veal is just going to be smaller, of course, because it comes from a smaller animal. So yeah, Osso Buco is traditionally made with the veal shanks, and it's usually braised with tomatoes, wine, and aromatic vegetables. And it is classically served with a bright, fresh garnish called gremolata, which is a mixture of chopped fresh parsley, minced garlic, and lemon zest. So you get all those like deep, rich stewing flavors, and then these bright, fresh, garlicky ingredients on top, right? So let's dive into making this. It is usually served so that each portion is one of the full veal shanks, but in my experience, sometimes in the slow braising process, they can kind of fall apart. The bone can even fall out, or just the pieces kind of get tender and pull apart from each other. So what I like to do is to use some butcher's twine to tie them around the circumference, and even a piece of string going around the other direction, holding it in place. This is not likely going to stay on all of them through the whole cooking process as everything is simmering. So if bits of string are coming off, don't worry about it. Take them off. You're just trying to keep them held together for as long as possible, and then they're more likely to be together when it comes time to serving. So you're going to start by tying those veal shanks, each one together, holding its shape together. Then on a big plate, mix together a 1/4 cup of flour, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. Mix that up, and then you're dredging the veal shanks in there, and then you get out your nice sized Dutch oven, put it over medium-high heat, add a tablespoon of olive oil and a tablespoon of butter. Once the butter has melted and it's very hot in there, add the shanks. Now, often people will say don't put them all in at once because they're going to steam, they're not going to brown, but actually in my Dutch oven, it's so hot in there, and the veal shanks, they kind of fill it, but they do brown in there. What I'm going to say is get them all in there, start them going. If they're not browning, take a couple out and then do 2 and then do the other 2. It's going to be about 10 to 12 minutes total to get them all browned on both sides. As they brown, transfer them to a plate. While they are browning, you can be chopping up 2 medium onions, 3 carrots, peel and chop those, 2 ribs of celery, and 5 cloves of garlic. You're going to mince those up, but when it comes to the garlic, separate it out. You want 3/4 of your garlic is going to be going into the stewing process, and 1/4 of it's going to go into the gremolata. So as you mince that up, just divide it into separate piles. See what I mean? Okay, once your veal shanks are browned and your veggies are all chopped up, drop the heat in the Dutch oven down to medium and add the onions, carrots, and celery to the pot. Season them with a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and then cook and stir them occasionally until they're softened and starting to brown. It's going to be about 5 minutes. Note also that liquid is going to release from those vegetables, and so if there are brownings in the bottom of that Dutch oven, you can start scraping them up with a wooden spoon. It's going to start releasing them at this point. After those veggies have started to brown a bit, you're going to add in that bulk of your garlic. So it's 3/4 of the garlic that you minced up, as well as some tomato paste, 1 tablespoon. And I know you've heard me talk about this on TikTok and Instagram. I'm at Cook the Story on those places if you haven't seen, about the difference between canned tomato paste and the tube of tomato paste. We only need a tablespoon here, so I would definitely say look for that tube. It's sold in the grocery store at the same place as the cans of tomato paste, just usually higher up. If you've never tried it before, give it a try. If you're not sure why it would be better, do check out those videos, Instagram and TikTok. I talk about the tomato paste on there. So you've added your garlic and 1 tablespoon of tomato paste to that pot. Give it a good stir, about 30 seconds stirring and cooking. And then you're going to add 1 14-ounce can of diced tomatoes straight into there, stir it, and then open another can. But for this second can, you're going to want to drain the liquid off. We don't need all that liquid. We're going to be going in with some chicken broth and some white wine in a second, and we don't need so much bubbling liquid in there. We're going to want a nice thick sauce. Every bit of liquid that we add makes it thinner, right? Okay, so get a fine mesh sieve, hold it over the sink, put a can of those diced tomatoes into the sieve, give it a few shakes. It's going to get rid of a lot of the liquid, and then put the tomatoes that are in the sieve into your pot. Give that a stir, and then add 1 cup of chicken broth and 1 cup of dry white wine. Now, why chicken broth? It is milder in flavor, and that veal is mild. Like I said earlier, if we were doing the beef shanks, I would go with beef broth here because it can hold up to that. It's nice and meaty. We want this to just be a little bit lighter, so it's chicken broth. Similarly, dry white wine, if we were doing the beef shanks, we would use red wine probably, but this, again, lighter, so we want that little bit lighter flavor, the dry white wine. Now, if you did not want to use wine here, that is totally fine. I'd say don't drain the liquid off of that second can of diced tomatoes. Instead, measure that liquid into a cup, make up the rest of it with more chicken broth. So you want 1 cup of liquid, except add a tablespoon or 2 of lemon juice to that. So you're just getting that little bit of tang and acidity that you would get from the white wine, made up from some tomato juice, some chicken broth, and some lemon juice. Total, you're making up for 1 cup of white wine, so you want 1 cup of liquid there. Okay, give that a good stir, and then return your veal pieces to the pot and try and make sure that they are mostly submerged. Again, if some of that string is coming off, fine, take it off. It should still be staying on at this point, but it's probably going to start falling off as the meat sort of reduces in size from the fat and things melting out of it. You know what I mean? Okay, so you're going to crank the heat back up to high, bring it up to a boil, and then reduce it right down to a low simmer. Put the lid on, and you're going to let it cook for about an hour and a half. It's until the veal is very tender. You'll stir it every now and then, discard any strings that come off, and just let it be back there partially covered for a while until it's nice and tender. If you wanted this off the stove, you absolutely can do it in the oven. Put your oven to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Once the pot with everything in it has come up to a boil, put the lid on and then put it into the 300 degree Fahrenheit oven. So the lid is on fully, not sort of half on. And if you're cooking it in the oven, you only have to stir it like once halfway through just to make sure that it's cooking evenly. If it's on the stove, you're stirring it every, 15, 20 minutes or so. And of course, the lid is partially on if it's on the stove. So those are the differences. Either way, it's going to take about an hour and a half to get that meat nice and tender. While it is cooking, you're going to make your gremolata. So you get the rest of that garlic. So 1/4 of the garlic that you minced up, and you put it on your cutting board with a big pinch of salt. And then you use the side of your chef's knife, a big knife, to kind of mash and smoosh it. It's going to bring all the juices out of the garlic. You mix that together with a 1/4 cup of chopped fresh parsley. I like to use the Italian parsley leaves, the flat leaf parsley, not the curly parsley, and 1 teaspoon of lemon zest. That gets in there. You mix those 3 things up, the salted garlic with the parsley and the lemon, and that goes into the fridge covered until you're ready to serve. Okay, once the veal is tender, you're going to take the veal out of the pot. Then you'll get out a jar with a tight-fitting lid or some kind of container that has a nice lid, and you are measuring a 1/2 cup of chicken broth into there, just room temperature or cold chicken broth, along with 2 tablespoons of flour. Put the lid on, give that a really good shake, and then pour it into the Dutch oven with all the veggies and tomatoes that are in there. Set that over medium-high heat, stirring the whole time. Bring it to a simmer, and then cook until the sauce is thickened to the thickness that you want. Then you're going to serve the veal topped with that sauce and veggies and garnished with the gremolata. I love to serve Osso Buco on risotto, but I'm guessing that my dad loves it on mashed potatoes, and I don't know why I don't know that, but I don't. I'm pretty sure that's what he does, though, because he loves mashed potatoes so much, and Osso Buco goes so great with creamy things like that. So good. I will put the link to this recipe in the show notes for this podcast episode, or you can head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and get it there. Everything there is arranged by date, so it's helpful to know that today is June 15th of 2025. I'm Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, the all-new chicken cookbook, and from this podcast recipe of the day, happy Father's Day. Let's get cooking.